Are we in the midst of the most expensive policy blunder of all time? New numbers in about the retail apocalypse that is underway. Also, protests in Long Island show that even in blue states, people are getting fed up. Biden says he wouldn't pardon Trump if he became president. Yeah, don't hold your breath on that one. The truth about Florida and Georgia, an emoluments challenge to Trump, that and more coming up. Welcome to the Buck Sexton Show, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me here on this Friday. My, oh my, it is going to be a tough summer. I wish I didn't have to say that right now. I know we all are heading off the weekends, and hopefully you'll be able to get some rest and relaxation and be able to take care of yourself. But it is going to be a tough summer. Here's why. Here in New York, they've just extended the lockdown until the middle of June. Now, there are some parts of the state where there are far fewer people that are somewhat open, but just a little bit open. You know, this is the problem we're going to have here is that the reopen in phases plan is far too slow and not nearly nimble enough to deal with the economic devastation that we are seeing. But to extend this to June, my friends, this is madness. This is nuts. We were told 15 days. All right, things look pretty rough. Maybe we extend it to 30. That's it. Going beyond this is absurd because if we have to be under lockdown to be safe from the virus, why would we be safer in September or October than we are now? If the whole plan is really just to sit and wait and hope for a vaccine or hope for a therapeutic before the end of the year, that is a massively stupid gamble. That is hoping for the equivalent of winning the lottery, given what we're already seeing from this virus. It's just not going to happen. And the devastation is unfathomable to our economy right now. And, you know, I've come in here and some days it feels like we're starting to make some progress. We're starting to see things getting better. I looked on the CDC website. I'm trying to do some of the number crunching myself. And I'm not a numbers guy, and I never pretend to be, but, you know, I'm okay at it. And I want to see what is the average percentage drop. You know, this would really give us an important data point to make some real decisions from. What is the average percentage drop that you would have from a normal flu season from, let's say, February, March, which is usually the peak. February usually is the peak month. February, March of the flu season to May, June. Does the drop, and remember, that's a respiratory disease without a lockdown. Does the drop look pretty much like it does right now for us under lockdown across the country for COVID-19? I think you can see why that's important, isn't it? It's something that we should all know because we're going to go through a second round of this now. That much is clear to me because the public health establishment refuses to accept that they really have very little in the way of tools to fight this. They didn't have great advice for us. We keep talking about how this is a war. This is a war where, you know, our weapons are hand washing and locking ourselves at home. It's not exactly a satisfying response, is it? We've lost over 80,000 people at this point, over 20,000 in New York City. And what we have to remember is that a lot of the people in charge are morons. A lot of the people in charge don't care. New York City, which is on the forefront of this whole fight right now because we've gotten hit the worst. And unfortunately, and I'm sorry, for those of you listening right now in Denver, in San Diego, in Portland, in Austin, in Omaha, in you name it, for those of you listening all across the country, your policies were very much influenced because of what happened here in New York. And what happened in New York was we have a public health establishment run by complete idiots. I mean, abject morons. The chief of the $1.6 billion New York City Health Department is a pediatrician who's basically spent most of the last decade, from what I can see in her bio, working on health equity and social justice issues. That's who's making the determination about what to do with the, not just in the face of the virus, but the policies that are going to affect billions and billions of dollars of assets, of wealth, of life savings, of business income here in New York City. She's making these calls. De Blasio, who's an abject buffoon. He's making these calls. Look at what's going on in Los Angeles. They don't even have a high death toll. They don't. You don't shut down millions and millions of people's lives for a death toll that when you stretch it out over the course of 3 months is basically 500 people a month. You don't do that, but Los Angeles is doing it. We are in a period of mass hysteria. People are making poor decisions. This virus is survivable by over 99% of people who get it. They think the fatality rate is 0.1. That's what they're guessing right now. I actually think it's even less than that, but we'll see when we have more widespread serology tests. But this cannot stand. Here we are now. I was saying, okay, we're making the right noises. The numbers in the worst hit places are going down. Georgia, Florida, God bless you. Your states are moving forward here. Texas moving a little more slowly than I'd like, but they're moving forward. They have not been crushed with all these new cases, and you see all these journalists who are trying to justify their previous outrage over how Georgia was effectively committing mass murder. No, not true. But now they say, well, look at what's going on. I see them pointing to Sweden. Look at the rise. Okay, Sweden didn't have that bad of a death toll per capita, but look at the rise that it had. Things could have been better there. Yeah, but they also didn't shut down everyone's life and tell them they have to stay at home and hide under a bed. It's starting to look in New York like the people in charge are so stupid that they don't understand how dire the situation in the rest of society is, or they just don't care. That's a really frightening circumstance for us to be in. And I know for a lot of you, you're saying, well, my state's not that bad. Yeah, but remember, it's going to be federal dollars that are bailing out these big states with much larger populations than a lot of the red states. I mean, Texas obviously has a big population. So does Florida's not really a red state. It's kind of red, reddish. It's purple. But I mean, New York, California, these are massive states that are going to, and Illinois too, they're going to want enormous federal bailouts. You've got a $3 trillion package getting talked about right now. I mean, this is out of control, my friends. We need to just go back. People who are at risk need to take additional precautions, and we need to give them the resources, whatever it takes. The attitude somehow is for all of society, any degree of suppression of your rights and your activities and your freedoms is necessary to save lives. But what we see is that the people that are really in danger didn't have the resources. In New York, you've had 5,300 plus people who have died in nursing homes alone in New York State. 5,300. That's a big death toll. Okay, that is horrifying. Big paper written in a big piece written in the Wall Street Journal on how they didn't have. First of all, Cuomo's policy was, take people before we've even tested them to be negative, coming back from the hospital when they were thought to have COVID-19. And after some of those returnees from the hospital went into the nursing homes, guess what? A whole lot of people got sick in many of these nursing homes and died. And now they've reversed the order because it was shockingly, unbelievably reckless. But that was an important decision. That was one where they could have actually saved lives. Telling me to stay home all day is not saving any lives. It's stupid. Telling people in California that they have to wear masks all the time is idiotic. Yeah, masks indoors, masks if you're in close contact with somebody for a long time. I'm not unreasonable in how I view this. I know that people like to say if you're not a lockdown forever loon, you're somehow rooting for Granny to die. No, I see what's happened. I understand the severity of the situation, but I understand the severity of the total situation as well. What's going on across the country, friends? We are going to have to. I don't even think I could put this on Twitter. I was thinking about this morning. We are going to have to get to, where is that Tea Party? Where is that protest movement? Where are the people who are going to say enough? And we need them not just to be in a few states. We need them in a lot of states. Open up now. These rules, these endless extensions of authority at the state level to lock down businesses and tell you have to stay in your home, tell you who you can and cannot see. These are unconstitutional. They, in the first place, just relied on the forbearance of the American people, and now they're abusing it. And these petty authoritarians need to be shown that we will not comply. We need mass noncompliance. And I know people are going to say, oh, my God, we're heading into the summer. If we don't see a massive drop in this just from the change in seasons and human behavior in summer, why do we see a massive drop in flu? Are you worried about getting the flu in June? How many of you have gotten the flu, influenza, in July? I'm guessing very few. I'm not saying nobody, but we can't live life by the exception. If you live life by the exception, you will never walk out of your house because, yes, occasionally somebody does have a drunk driver in broad daylight, do donuts in their front lawn, spin out and smack them into the garage and kill them. That can happen. But you don't live your life thinking that it's going to happen every day, do you? You live your life based on reasonable risk tolerance. Our society, the statist, nanny state, wimp mentality that some of these authoritarians have gone with of, we'll do whatever we say or else you want everyone to die. What the heck is that? We've gone too far now. I mean, now is when we actually need people to band together. And you're going to see social media is going to try to shut this down. You're going to see people in very prominent positions say that this is reckless, it's risking lives. You're going to see some really nasty arrests and exchanges with police officers. It's up to every officer. If somebody's out there protesting and the governor says, I say they're not allowed to protest, who do you listen to, the governor or the Constitution? These are the choices we're going to be faced with soon. We all know what the First Amendment says. We all know that declaring protest as a non-essential activity ain't gonna fly. Not if you believe in the Constitution, not if you think that we have laws, and not just the whims of bureaucrats and the idiots in power right now. This is the biggest policy, the most expensive, no question, policy blunder in anyone's lifetime. We're destroying, and this is global too. I mean, New York, the United States, we're symbolic of what's happening in the whole world. There are studies out there from groups. All they do is look at this and look at food chain, food supply, and they're saying that we might have a couple of 100 million people facing starvation because of this, starving to death. Oh no! If you think that we should start living life again and engaging in normal activity to the degree that we can, with some restrictions, some modifications, you just want old people to die for your stock account. That's what they say. Where is that Tea Party spirit? Where is that mass non-compliance with tyranny? We're there. We're there. Extending this until the middle of June? Why not extend it the whole year? By their logic, I want to know, why shouldn't we just extend this the whole year? Just tell us now. Why not? And they're going to go so slowly, even with the reopen, that they might as well not. These businesses are on a clock. They are dying. They can't just sit there and wait and wait and wait. And when businesses die, people lose livelihoods. People's lives are destroyed. This is really interesting when you start to view this as the mass house arrest that it is. Oh, sure. They think they're saving lives by ruining them. That's the policy that they have actually settled on. Because right now there are millions of people. Yes, there are 80,000 plus dead. It's terrible. There are millions of people whose lives are being ruined right now. And there are millions of people whose health, and also I think will lose their lives too over time, meaning that they will die from preventable disease. They will die from the lack of medical care. 150,000 cancer diagnoses every month. How many cancer diagnoses do you think there were in this country in March and April while we were all praying at the altar of St. Fauci? Like stay at home and don't do anything is some brilliant plan. People need to wake up. This is out of control. Where are we going to start the pushback? When will it begin? I don't know if we can use social media. I think they're going to shut us down from it. But my friends, they're going to drag us through this. If we allow them, they will wreck the American economy, and this country will be in the midst of Great Depression Part 2, and it will all be self-induced because of hashtag science believers out there who don't know a damn thing about science and have terrible judgment and have been wrong all along, but they think that because somebody is put in some government bureaucracy where they're making decisions, that they're really smart, that they know exactly what they're doing. Would you let the DMV determine every aspect of your life? Just because someone has a fancy degree doesn't mean they have any more clarity of judgment or decision making than the most slothful of government employees. I am pleased to see that there are some people in the New York area who are taking to the streets and are showing their displeasure with this, because that's how this all begins. It starts with some people who are willing to speak out. Here's a News 12 Long Island report about these protesters. They're called the Setauket Patriots, and they're out in Long Island. Producer Mark, are these some of your cousins or something?
No, they are not.
Here they are out in Long Island, protesting the stupid lockdown situation. Play clip 1.
They flooded the sidewalk on Jericho Turnpike in Comac. Hundreds of Long Islanders sick of the shutdown, demanding that New York get back to work.
Businesses need to reopen. People are losing their livelihood. Who is King Cuomo to tell business owner that he can't be open or that you have to wear a mask when you walk into his store?
The rally, organized by a group called the Setauket Patriots, a right-wing organization that supports President Trump. It's the second demonstration that's been held at this location in the last 2 weeks.
We need more demonstrations. We need more people out there saying, this is destroying my livelihood. Let people make their own choices about their own risk tolerance. It would be wrong. I would say it would be immoral to force anyone who is really that concerned about contracting this disease. And some people, there are very real concerns for them about their health with this. Remember, 99% of people who get the disease, that's not 99% of all human beings, period. 99% of those who are infected, which is a very large number, but not clearly not everyone, 99% will survive the disease, and over half of them won't even know they have the disease. That's what we are facing. We have the data now. We have the facts in. Why are we allowing the government to tell everyone that you need to stay home, and that if it saves just one life has become our official policy on this? At least in New York, that's the plan. If it saves just one life. If that were really your guiding star for how you make public policy, you would not let people ever leave their homes, and we would be in a total dystopia. Every human activity involves some degree of risk. In fact, even being in your home involves some degrees of risk. But I don't want to freak people out. A lot of bad things happen when people slip down the stairs or in the shower. I mean, this is reality. Bad things can happen anywhere. But here we are, folks. We've reached the point. We have reached the threshold. It's time to push back.
I'm just trying to get by on the sidewalk, that's all.
You shouldn't be here, you fake news. You stopped airing the Trump briefings and you keep airing Cuomo briefings. Go home, you fake news. Go home.
You're destroying something in Long Island.
You are the enemy of the people.
You are fake news.
You are the
enemy. We all know it. You are fake news. We know about your liberal agenda. We know you want to keep your job. We get it. You're not getting advertiser dollars in right now.
You're not going to answer, so you're just going to go live.
Yes, I am getting a paycheck.
I'm very happy, but other people are not getting paychecks, and they're not getting.
You used to be a good channel at one time.
You allow people.
I don't know what happened to you.
I gotta say, I love Long Island Republicans. They're a great bunch. Yeah, fake news. Hey, yeah, get out of here. Enemy of the people, you fake news. I love it, man. It's great. It's like, I know I'm close to home when the Strong Island Republicans are making the noise about how this guy. Look, they said some things that are just true. I don't know if that channel specifically did or did not do what they say, but they're claiming that they stopped airing the Trump briefings and started airing only Cuomo briefings. That's a very suspect editorial decision. And also, I think that there is clearly the journalists really seem to think that their job is not just to inform people, but to police people, to find cases of people out enjoying the sunshine somewhere, being too close to each other on the beach. You know, the journos are the little willing Renfields of the nanny state. The Dracula reference, those of you who are wondering. It's a great novel. If you're looking for a novel to read, if you've never read Bram Stoker's Dracula, you'll rip through it. Unlike Moby Dick, which I'm in the middle of, and I'm kind of like, come on. But anyway, producer Mark, Strong Island Republicans. I didn't realize there were so many.
Yes, I believe the congressional people are split 2 and 2, 2 Dems, 2 Republicans. I think Nassau is more Democratic leaning, and once you get out to Suffolk, it's more Republican.
There we go. Yeah, that's right. You got Congressman King is out there, right?
Yes, Peter King is out there. Yep.
Yeah. So there are some sane parts of Long Island still, but this is what we need more of. We need people who are going to push back and say, what the heck is going on here? Why are we allowing people to make these kinds of decisions for us without any evidentiary basis for us? This was all a giant bait and switch. From the beginning, they said that we might have 2 million people that die from this. That's insane. That wasn't happening, but we were told that. And how do you know? We didn't know, and that seems like way too many people for us to risk continuing any economic activity. Way too many people for us to go forward and try to live our lives again. I mean, the amount of stuff here that has been put on hold and canceled and ruined based on these faulty models. And I know for a lot of you, you're probably like, oh, Buck, but, my area is coming back. Yeah, but if there are a lot of lagging areas of the country, that's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect the economy nationally. It's going to affect the supply chain. A lot of national brands, are probably going to want to have a pretty uniform policy. So, I don't know if you've got a burger franchise that's in a dozen states and 3 of them are red free states and, 9 of them are lockdown states. Are you going to open in the 3? I mean, maybe, I would think, but I'm not sure that every business is going to operate that way. They're going to be operating at a fraction of their capacity. I mentioned the retail apocalypse at the top of the show. I mean, retail was down 20% almost, which is the biggest drop people have ever seen. It's just stunning. It's just stunning that this is what we are going through. But we are. We've unfortunately fallen into this, I think, with way too little protest. And I'm sorry. I think that the president, he has had a Herculean task pushing back on not just the media, but just the apparatus, the caste system of the degreed and journo class in this country that thinks that they should be making all of the decisions, no matter how foolish, no matter how unimpressive they are, they should be making all the decisions. I mean, here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You have Oxiris Barbeau, I mentioned to you, in New York City. She is the director of our 6,000-person health department here. And she was the one saying, go party at the Chinese Lunar New Year Festival, hashtag Wuhan Strong, when that really seemed like the worst idea imaginable based on everything they've told us since then. You have Cuomo, who, acting on the advice of his own medical personnel, thought that putting COVID-infected people inside of a nursing home is not the most horrifically stupid decision, reckless decision imaginable. So you look at the decision that have been made. Oh, and I'm trying to find this person in California. Here you go. This is hat tip red state for this one. The woman who is in charge of Los Angeles County, which is a huge county with millions of residents, Los Angeles County policy on health is Health Director Barbara Ferrer, and she is the one who is pushing for, this to be essentially extended for another 90 days. Quote, Dr. Ferrer received her Ph.D. in social welfare from Brandeis University, a Master of Arts in Public Health from Boston University, and a Master of Education from the University of Massachusetts. Bachelor's degree from University of California, Santa Cruz. This is someone who just spent her entire adult life basically either in pointless academia, which is what those fields used to, I mean, these are not degrees that impress anybody, or working in the bureaucracy. I mean, a PhD in social welfare? What the heck is that? Producer Mark, if I told you that you had to take dictation about everything you did for your own health for the next 6 months because someone sat down, they said they have a PhD in social welfare, would you feel good about that?
Probably not, no.
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think so. This is who is in charge of these decisions for the largest concentrations of people in the country. Bureaucrats who are social justice ideologues who view this through the lens of their wokeness and the power dynamics that are at play in a political sense. I mean, to say that they have any real idea of what we're going to do and what's going on here is just absurd. And remember, they're the decider in a sense. I mean, maybe the governor is the ultimate decider, but they're the ones that push the policy to the governor. The governor will say, this is what my public health expert told us to do. And the public health expert says, well, I gave it to the governor. It's the governor's choice. No one's accountable. Doesn't matter. You want to see how bad things actually are getting in L.A. Here you have the mayor of L.A. who is saying something that is just, one, unhelpful, and two, crazy. Play clip 5.
I think we have to all recognize that we're not moving beyond COVID-19. We're learning to live with it. It's important not to overreact, but it's important to take this serious because it is as dangerous today as it was the first day that it arrived in our cities and our country. So quite frankly, there's no so-called open state or open country that doesn't continue to have health orders telling us to cover our faces, physically distance, and to tell people that you're safest working from and staying at home. That's all that the county health director was saying, and we can't expect that to disappear in a matter of weeks or even a few months. At the same time, we're learning a lot of really important lessons about how to safely reopen sectors and places, and we have to assess each of those steps, give 3 or 4 weeks time to see, is there any additional spread? Are we endangering more people? And how can we keep our most vulnerable safe? So we are learning to live with it at the same moment that we are also learning the lessons of how to do that.
Never going to be completely open until a cure, huh? Here's the problem with all of this. Oh, we're just going to learn the science and the steps. There will be more infections, and people will die from this disease. That is a certainty. No one can deny that. So we're setting this up so that at any point in time, the bureaucrats can just say, well, because people are still getting infected and dying, we're going to seize control of or dictate what can happen in this part of the country. This is an open invitation for them to continue doing this. There's no reason to believe that they won't do this again or that we won't be in this back and forth pattern, because what he's saying is, until there's a cure, we're going to have to tell you what's safe and what's not. They don't know. They don't really. What do they have to tell you about this? Wash your hands, avoid other people. We can't entirely avoid each other. And I also am going to want to know when we get to, let's say we did cure this tomorrow, when we go into the flu season and you do have thousands of people a month dying from influenza, which does happen every single year. Maybe it's 2,000, maybe it's 3,000, but during the flu season, right? And I'm not saying it happens every month of the year. Oh, there's that seasonality issue, though, again. But if you have, let's say, 2,000 people a month dying from the flu, well, aren't hotspots then required to shut down? And don't we all have to wear masks? And if not, why? No one ever answers this. If not, why not? This is, that we have a psychological acceptance as a society, because it's been around for a long time, that the flu is a nasty thing and it kills people. And yet with this, yes, it is worse than flu, but we've gotten to the point where we seem to have no psychological acceptance of the fact that there is risk from this and that some people will get it and some people will die. And that's not going to change. Doesn't matter how long they continue. People are dying during the lockdown. So how could we expect that if the lockdowns end, people won't be dying from this? That's absurd. we're going to have to, where I guess, where is the Tea Party, man? I mean, where is the pushback against government tyranny? Because this is tyranny now. This is tyrannical stuff. They're arresting people for nonsense. They're shutting down. The media loves to do these stories. Oh, somebody opened their business and now they have COVID-19. Yeah, you know what? That person probably wanted to feed their family and was willing to take the risk. Just like we all take risks with our health on any given day. What's the alternative? You're going to let PhDs in public welfare determine when you could leave your house? I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
But I'll tell you what, to me, I watched this guy for a little while this morning. To me, he's nothing more than a really disgruntled, unhappy person. And I'm not just talking about Alex, because Alex said it strongly, but there are a lot of people that do not like the job he did. I don't know him. I never met him. I don't want to meet him, but I watched him, and he looks like an angry, disgruntled employee who, frankly, according to some people, didn't do a very good job.
An angry, disgruntled employee who didn't do a good job, the president says, of the director of BARDA, who HHS called out yesterday. BARDA is supposed to be looking at new and innovative vaccines. HHS called this guy out and said he's getting paid like almost $250K, or maybe I think it might have been more than $250K. Never shows up for his job. But he's got time to meet with lawyers so he can go testify about Trump, which is probably a fantastic financial move for him. I'm sure he's going to get, one of the left-wing mega publishers out there, because publishing companies are primarily left-wing, basically all left-wing organizations, really. They're going to, not all of them, there's some that aren't, but generally, they're going to be giving him a nice, big, fat book advance because he's part of the hashtag resistance now. Meanwhile, the administration has moved us to being among, we are now the best in the world when it comes to, you guessed it, testing. Now, this is important because we had been told that the big problem that we have is we don't have enough tests. And we still are told we don't have enough tests. Oh, what are we going to do about the tests? They don't like this because the president has taken their favorite talking point away from them. Here he is. Play clip 11.
So we have the best testing in the world. It could be the testing's, frankly, overrated. Maybe it is overrated. But whatever they start yelling, we want more, we want more. They always say we want more, because they don't want to give you credit. Then we do more, and they say we want more. But we have the greatest testing in the world. But what we want is we want to get rid of this thing. That's what we want. We want to get rid of this thing.
Well, that's for sure. We all want to get rid of this thing. But we've got to figure out the way to do that while keeping our economy alive. You're not seeing reporting on this, and that's, I think, part of the ideological skewing on this issue that's going on. But, and I know everything right now is more locally focused on news in a lot of ways than it would normally be because of how much of an influence state and local governments are having on people's lives. But here in New York, you had 3,500 people out in Queens, one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. I guess everybody knows that, but I don't know. I feel like a newsman needs to say these things, right? But 3,500 people in Queens were waiting at a food pantry. That's a lot of people in line for food in the largest city in the United States. You'd think that this would be getting a whole lot of attention. That there are thousands of people who can't get food, and you'd want to say, well, hold on, what about PPP and what about the public health efforts that are out there and the SNAP program, all these different things. How could people? It's not enough, not working. They don't have food. There weren't 3,500 people in line in Queens 3 months ago looking for food. There weren't 3,500 people in line or whatever the number was. I think it was about this. It was close to that, 3,000 or 4,000 in Houston looking for food. I mean, I know the folks listening on this on KPRC, you guys at least you're in Texas, so you have a real shot of getting some sense of normalcy back in your lives. But for those of us who are living in these blue enclaves, what are they doing? I mean, this is just this nanny state on steroids attitude is so damaging. And by the problem is we have to push now, because when it becomes clear how utterly catastrophic the extensions of the lockdown have been and not helpful from a public health standpoint, I do not believe that we are getting the benefit that people are stating we are now by continuing in lockdown. If it's true, why isn't Georgia seeing a huge surge in cases? It's been weeks. Is it worth destroying your entire economy for 1% fewer infections in your state? I mean, this is really where you have to start looking. At. We're going to talk numbers. Let's talk numbers. If it means that you only have cases slowed but not actually lessened over the course of the next 6 months, is that a great thing now? I mean, is that something we're supposed to be excited about? That's what they were telling us. It was about hospital capacity, and we've gone way past that. My friends, we got to organize. We got to get out there, and it's time to take our lives back. That's where we are.